Uh-oh.
Yeah,
That distorts, right?
It didn't distort.
It didn't
It's just
distort.
loud.
It's just banjo.
It's louder than you.
There you go.
There you go. You do without picks.
Your banjo mute. Can you just do that behind all the questions I ask?
Of course.
We're gonna do this for an hour.
I don't know why I have to get the Jed Clampett theme song.
I lost my headphones.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
There you go.
We just lost all our copyright.
Yeah.
This podcast has just been flagged by YouTube.
By every banjo. There you go.
Perfect.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to the podcast. Jeremy, how's your van?
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you?
We're just gonna jump right in.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason is referencing the new... I got my first new vehicle since I was
Me and Dad
20
were just
years
talking
old.
about that. Is
I've
this
only
your
bought
very
used.
first brand new vehicle?
My first car I ever bought was a brand new
Oh, that's
vehicle. It was a manual transmission that I didn't know how to drive manual yet. But I bought it anyway because it was $1,000 cheaper to get a manual transmission, and I grinded gears all the way out of the lot.
It was
But
also the same car that I got my license in. I took my test.
And then
And I didn't really know how to drive at 5-speed, and I took the test, which was probably a bad idea.
yeah,
but
so
I passed.
anyway, that was the first new car. Ever since then, it's been used vehicles. I got rear-ended in our minivan last year. Got a new, actually, I guess it was the beginning of this year. Got a new plug-in hybrid, like decked out. I like, all right, I know I own these vehicles for 10 years. I go for 100 to 80,000 miles. That's my goal on a vehicle. I try to like max out my, so I'm like, we're going to deck this thing out. We're going to get a nice one. And with the dealer incentives and all that, it was pretty reasonable. I really did. This was my favorite vehicle I've owned.
Nice.
I'm not ashamed to say I was in love with the minivan.
It keeps coming up.
Yes.
Did you name it?
I did
Was
not.
there a
I'm not
name?
that weird, but I really enjoyed driving this car. And then last night, a big storm moved through town. It's 3 months old. This van is. I parked it on the street because my son wanted to play basketball in the driveway, and I played with him.
That's the
and
problem.
then
You
didn't
should
pull it back into the
never,
driveway.
ever play with your
Storm
son.
came through, blew the tree down on top of my new van, and it's squished.
It's squished.
Squishy.
I was sad.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good 3 months we had, buddy. Took my shotgun out and I shot it.
Old Yeller style.
Old Yeller style.
Oh,
My horse got limp.
you're better than me. I've never owned a brand new vehicle.
But you also
My
don't own them
wife-
as long as I do either.
Well, we run them a pretty long time. My wife bought after, we were married. Right after we got married, we went and bought a vehicle that was together, but it was mostly, she had better credit than me, so it was mostly in her name and she drove it. But I've never owned a new vehicle.
Yeah.
So you're
Well,
better than me.
it hurts when they get injured.
Yeah, I had to fix that one too. She had a hybrid also, and it just quit working in the middle of the road one time. I had to fix that.
Anyway, thank you, Jay, for starting this podcast off with a sad memory from only last night.
Jeremy barely came to work today.
It was a
I will
large
say-
part of the
it was
tree
a
fell
freak
on
storm.
this.
How many bottles did you go through last night?
Not bottles, but I went through the last of a bottle of scotch. Like,
Sad.
Did you say, "Here's one to you," and pour it out on the
pour
curb?
one out for
I poured it on the
for
hood.
the,
Pour it to the curb.
the Pacifica.
I poured it in the gas tank.
Uh,
Oh, well. You know what's going to cheer me
It'll
up,
be all
Jason,
right,
is being
Jeremy.
with you guys and filming another podcast.
Yeah. John, how's your vehicles?
They're mostly still
This
together.
is the bad part. Is you guys in your minivans? If John a few months
Storm-related.
ago
Storm
got
related
all
has
the
been
windows
bad.
blown out in his vehicle.
Hailstones.
Yeah. Had a hailstorm. Vicky, actually, last night we were watching the storm come through. She could have swore that she heard hail hitting. We were at the Costco, swore she heard hail hitting it, and got very emotional in the middle of a Costco, like, no, I can't do this again. Recognize, she bought that 1.5 years ago, and since then we had a major hailstorm that just battered the top of it and just trashed it. And then we got it fixed, and then I swear it was like 2 weeks afterwards, a student in her parking lot backed into it, and we had to take that and get it fixed. And then probably another 4 months later down the road, we had another massive hailstorm, blew out the window and just trashed. She just got it back on Friday.
You guys are like the insurance company's
I did tell
nightmare.
Shaylin that we're that, I think young families, when they buy houses, the garage just becomes another storage room instead of a place to park your car.
We had
I told
a couple
Shaylin,
years we had ours to park in there, but then
if once this van is repaired and we get it back, one side of the garage will be dedicated to parking it in any storm. I'm just going to park it every night, whether it's storming or not. Just get it in there.
I got to say, we grew up in a non-garage family.
We never had garages growing up. We
apartments. And when we did, you ended up using it for storage. We did forever. I had to say, bought the new house. We did this about 6 months ago. Finally got our new house, the garage cleaned out, and have a space. There's only space for one.
It's almost like they made these rooms to park a car in. What a strange concept.
It is a very nice thing. When you park your car
driveway
in there,
leads right into it.
Yeah.
I always wondered what that was for.
You don't have to get wet and walk out of your car.
It is nice to get up in the morning, walk into the garage, hop into your vehicle, and go, even if it's raining outside, guys. It's a nice thing.
Snow doesn't get on your...
It's very
You
common.
don't have to put the cardboard over the windshield.
See, my oldest now is 10 years old, and I think the first year of his life was when we used the garage, and then it became...
Anyway, I started a business in the garage, and that kind of went away.
Went bad.
Anyway, guys, this has been about the Chapmans' personal vehicles and properties.
I love
Hope you
how
enjoyed the podcast.
people get these like little glimpses into the lives of us and our
They just
families.
reality.
Jason wanted to explain why I have a sad look on my face during this podcast. And
I nearly lost my camper in that storm. I moved it, thankfully. Otherwise, the tree that fell across the street would have
there were a
fallen
lot
on
of
it.
trees that came down, ladies
It might have
and
got
gentlemen.
blown
There's trees
over.
laying down
The
everywhere.
wind was pretty... I would say there's about an 80 to 90% chance that it'd blow my camper over if I'd left it
was
where
heavy.
it was.
Anyway, who do we have on the
Death.
podcast today, Jason?
We know Jens Kruger.
Yeah, we do.
And we're gonna
Acoustic
prove
Shoppe
it.
People.
The
We're going to
Acoustic
prove
Shoppe
that the acoustic
even.
shop
Do we know where he's
people.
from? We'll get to that in the
You
podcast.
You don't.
No, Jens Kruger, half of the Kruger brothers, 1/3 of the Kruger brothers band.
Well, it depends on
With
what
Joel.
night they're playing.
Actually, 1/4 now.
Yeah.
Even 1/5 sometimes with the
Boy,
drummer.
you're just going all kinds
They're
of math going on
expanding.
here.
It used to be the 3 of them. Now it's 4 of them. Then it's
That's
5 of
5.
them now.
Quintets, quantets.
Quartets,
You
quantity.
don't even know what you're talking about. You're making up words.
There's
Cinco.
levels to their band that you
Cinco de
can't even
Mayo.
quantize.
Quantum physics. Remember
Physics.
Quantum Leap?
Yes.
That was a great
That's,
show.
hey, they remade it. It wasn't as good. Anyway, Scott Bakula. I don't know. It wasn't Scott Bakula, was it?
Yeah, it
Was it
was
Scott
the
Bakula?
original.
Good one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that show.
Oh, MacGyver.
Who was the guy that?
What was his name and things?
What was the guy that had the little computer that could talk to him? He's the only one that could travel. through-
Doc.
Sam.
His name
Sam.
was Sam.
He was
Yeah,
Sam.
And there
You're
was
thinking of
the computer
Back
was
to the
called
Future Doc.
something.
Anyway,
The computer was called
ladies and gentlemen,
something.
we digress. We
Yes,
got
you did.
Jens Kruger on the podcast, and it's going to be a great conversation. I can
Yes.
just tell.
We
Ladies
know.
and gentlemen, the Acoustic Shoppe knows Jens Kruger.
All right, here we go.
Welcome to
Yes.
the podcast.
So
Hey.
good to see you again.
Yes.
Hey, good to see you all again. It's great. It's fantastic. I miss playing music with you.
Yeah, I do too. It was a whole bunch of fun.
Let's do it in April.
It was a year and a half ago that we did a lot of stuff together at the
We also got to
NAMM
hang
show.
out with him
Well, we did that
at
too.
Merle Fest, and then go over to his house or the studio there and do some jamming.
Yes, and then we played together at NAMM show.
Yeah.
Good time.
When are we
That
getting
was-
the band back together?
Yeah, we should get the band back together.
Well, yeah. Last time I wanted to come out, I fell ill. You remember that?
Yes.
We need.
we had it all figured out, and it was all ready to go. And we could have been stars by now. And
The trajectory of our careers just completely changed with one sickness.
yeah,
happens.
but in a parallel universe,
Where you
that
worked
actually
at-
happened.
Yeah. We're now opening for Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I'm part of the Jens Kruger band in a different universe.
Ooh, weird.
She's opening for us. Taylor Swift is
Ooh.
opening for us.
Wow.
That's how big it is.
Exactly.
That's pretty killer.
I just in the parallel universe, I just invented the 3-finger style.
Did you really?
Wow.
Yeah, I did.
The
I
four-finger
did.
style. He's got a four-finger version.
No. Just 3 things. No. I'm not one of these 4-finger guys.
Jens, we got to start this
that's-
podcast out. Jason said I need to apologize. The last time we filmed something together at your studio, I thought it would be funny and keep bringing up IKEA jokes. It turns out Switzerland and Sweden are different countries, and I kept getting them confused.
Well, the thing is, you're not the only one. You know,
Daily.
It's a very common thing. You know, I had an elderly lady come to me once and says, "So you're from Sweden?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm from Switzerland. Chocolate banks, cheese, tidy Alps, you know, all that, and yodeling and
Not
Alphorn
the
and
fish.
and all that." And then she said, Ah, I get it. So, do you still speak Swedish? I said, of course. What else would I speak?
So yeah, it's like the first time we went to Austria. It was our first trip overseas, and they had the signs that said "No kangaroos in Austria." And people go to Australia and Austria. People fly all the way over there to see the kangaroos, and
Yeah, I know. No, it's all right.
It's not all right. We need to point out and ridicule Jeremy for
I didn't pay attention in geography. It's like who needs to know all these Sweden?
No, Jeremy, but Jeremy wasn't serious, right?
Oh, he was. He thought 100%.
I thought he was just making fun. No,
I was, but it would have helped if I knew which country I was talking
about. I wouldn't say it's scary, but a little bit irritating in a way.
I've been called that before.
Today.
Okay.
So seriously, how about them fish? Yeah. You got any of them Swedish fish?
The Swedish fish, yeah. I had a student. He's a very nice man. He always came and he had bags of Swedish fish with him. He would always.
He was going to relate with you. It was going to be his opportunity to just me and Jens, we are on the same.
And so I thought I asked him once to give me one so I could try it. That was mistake number 2. So.
You didn't dig it, huh? Not
all right. No. Toblerone, right?
Toblerone.
That's yours.
Yeah. Yeah, Toblerone. Yeah. It's actually Toblerone.
Is it Toblerone?
It's Toblerone.
Are they coming out with Tobler 2?
They're coming out with Tobler 2. They do. Yes, soon.
Oh, this is why we have this podcast, is for this kind of information.
The chocolate strikes back.
Well, you have to understand, that without chocolate, there wouldn't be fast bluegrass.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, Bill Monroe visited Europe in the 30s, early 30s, and he learned bluegrass music from the Alpine boys over there.
Really? I did not know
that. It was all waltz music before then. Slow.
It was, yes. Yes, and then... Yeah, he did.
How come?
He did.
So here's my question. We have hung out many, many times. Not one time have you brought me any chocolates. Like none. I don't even understand what happened.
Well, that's not meant for camera.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Basically, I don't care for you very much is what you're trying to say.
No, he's saying you don't need chocolate.
Or that too.
No. Yeah, well, you see, if I don't say what I wanted to say, the interpretations take place in your brains, You're like a bunch of chipmunks, they're just going wild. You guys remind me, you brothers remind me of, I have a bunch of raccoons out on my porch every night.
I'd love you to name each one of them. There's John, there's Jeremy, there's Jason.
There's John. Actually,
do you feed them? Do you give them chocolate? That's what I want to know.
No, they get dog food. I always, I play. And I wondered, if they come for my music, till I figured out they could just come for my food. I was very disappointed.
That's why we were there last.
That's why we only play restaurants.
Yeah, we always go to Jens's studio after Merle Fest. There's only one reason: it's not to play music or listen to music. It's
Domino's.
You got pizza. You have pizza.
I like that before. Who said that? Who said it? Was it you, Jeremy, now, who just said that's why we play restaurants?
Yeah. That's why we get people out there. They're there for the food. They always go, could you turn the music down? We're trying to visit with our friends over here.
We used to play on cruise ships, and we were always too loud. Doesn't matter what are you playing. You're going like, yeah, just having fun. And there's always somebody coming up. Well, we really like the music, but could you please just bring it down a little bit and try to have a conversation over there?
That's always
and then you go like. And then, and no matter what you do, they're coming back and saying, it's great music, really, we dig it, but we don't like it that loud.
You know what? I hate to tell you this. I hate to tell you this. Whenever they start anything with, "We just love your music, but it's too loud," they're really saying they don't love your music. That's just
and then you start playing. We got it made. We went like.
fading
Trick 'em
out.
up.
Then they're like, ooh, do I know that?
If you get them to come up and say, "Could you please turn it up?" That's when you know you've won. All right, Jens.
My favorite story of this vein, we had a festival in Arkansas where the sound guy kept getting in trouble because it was too loud.
Yeah.
So he told the owner of the festival, the promoter, said, "What I want you to do, I want you to keep it to a level that a person in the front row could talk to their partner or their neighbor next to them in a low voice, and they could be heard."
You got to be kidding me.
It's true.
So it's more important to talk to your neighbor during a show than it is to listen
Hear
to
the music.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
And I once played. I will not say where, but it was.
Please go ahead.
In India. It was in
Podcast is
Indiana.
about making enemies.
No, we were just starting to play in America, Uwe, Joel, and me, and we played the IBMA at the Gold House, right? And so they said to us, "We have a Spigma meeting in Indiana." I think it was just a week later, and why don't you come and play? And so we went there. I swear to you, it was the most desolate place I've ever seen in my life. It was an auction hall with neon lights, and there were two little home speakers, of a home stereo in front by a chuck wagon.
Dang
And
right
there were
they
all
were.
these plastic flowers on that little chuck wagon, and a little girl was singing Blue Moon of Kentucky. Anyway,
Might have been at that
there's and then, there was a little wire that went all the way back to the way back, right? And it's like a half a mile away, it seemed. And there at the wall, there's a mixing board that's the size of, my computer. And there's a man with hearing aids sitting back there with a big cowboy hat.
Of course.
And there was a piece of tape on the volume button
let's go
in
past
the
that.
middle. In the middle. So he couldn't go past that.
Great.
And then we were allowed to play. We went up there. I think James King was right before us. And so we went on stage and we started playing, something like, well, first of all, we would sit. And they were very upset with us. And Joel had the electric bass. Uwe, that didn't work well. We didn't know. We didn't know Spigma. We had no idea that they had rules about this. But they invited us.
They
So
should have
we.
known.
So I don't know. But so they were very upset with us. They didn't like us. And then we started playing something like. Very beautiful things. And I swear that the folding up, the sound of the folding up of the lawn chairs.
You're giving me PTSD right now. You're bringing me back to
We're
memories.
living this.
The sound of the folding up lawn chairs was louder than our music,
Yeah.
I swear. And
Most of them did it to be dramatic. Like they could have folded those chairs quietly, but they wanted them to like clank.
No.
So you
And
knew.
our faces were just about this high over the plastic flower bouquet, in front of the stage. And they seriously hated us. I mean, they really did. And we were a little demoralized. We went to the back to the hotel and thought, what was that? I mean, I never seen anything like that in my life. That was very interesting.
That brings
By the
up a
way,
good
you're,
question to me is like, did you let things like that get to you guys? Like when you were, because the level of musicianship that you guys aspire to be and really have succeeded at being, you're playing, really technically pleasing and good music, but still something like that, does it affect you?
Well, it does to a certain degree. Really, it does. I mean, not when I'm old like I'm now, nothing really that affects me anymore. That much. I'm fine. I have never had the expectation that anybody should like me. That's basically it. But still, sometimes. I had it when I was young. I tell you, I was. We worked for CBS Records when I was 17. We had a record contract, and they mistakenly booked us at a sort of a garage warming party, a big office building, and in the garage they had this housewarming party, sort of, for corporate, and they thought they booked a Dixieland band. And we were a bunch of hippies playing bluegrass and they absolutely hated us. And it was the worst emotional gig that I ever done in my life, seriously. And they threw food at us,
Oh,
and
my
we had to
God.
go. We had to go from place to place, and we had to be really. And these were people, driving big cars and having good suits, and they really just hated us. And our mandolin player, he played an old Gibson A model style, mandolin, and they threw beer at him.
Wow.
And it was so, and then we had to go to the train station and take the train to Salzburg or somewhere in Austria. And in the train, there was another incident, that happened on that trip, because the train started moving and our mandolin player jumped on, and we, the train for some reason left early, we thought. And our mandolin player, we all jumped on, and the mandolin player jumped on, and his mandolin case opened, and the mandolin fell out on the flat platform, and just broke into bits and pieces. And then the train stopped. It was just relocating and changing carts, and then went out. So, but anyway, when we then sat in the train, and his girlfriend then came from Zurich to Salzburg to bring him another mandolin for that other horrific show, but in the train as we were sitting, we were all pretty quiet, and wondering what are we doing, where is this going to lead us? Of course, I was 18 at the time, 17, 18, and it really got me. For a few weeks I had to chew on that one. And because we were street musicians before that, playing on the streets, homeless, and we've seen a lot of things. But then after we started working for CBS Records, we thought, well, we're not going to be in situations that in that sort of manner anymore. But also, but that gig, of course, you always get, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug, right? It's just how it is.
Yeah.
I don't think, first time we played Morfest, for instance, we were invited, we didn't know what we were getting into, and then there was the Hillside stage. And there was a lot of people because Lonesome River Band played right before us. And once they were done, everybody left. There were like 10 people left to listen to us, on Hillside stage. And it is a little, like, okay, they definitely don't want to listen to us, but that changed very quickly. But just the first moment. And there's always these feelings where you, get a little tight, you feel like, whoa, that didn't really work.
Yeah.
That was rough. But with all the gigs I had, in my career since 1973, we're playing on stages. You see probably pretty much everything,
And you alluded a little bit to your history. And I didn't really know about that until I saw the Birkenstocks did like this cool feature of you and your brother. But you guys basically ran away from home and basically survived by playing music, correct?
Well, the thing was that we didn't run away from home. That would have been something necessary we didn't do, but there was no home. So home just sort of dissolved, and there was no more home. So we just left. And Uwe and me just survived playing on the streets. And we did that for almost 2 years, playing on the streets. And we lived in trains pretty much. We would always take the last train out of the town. We would buy Ural tickets. I don't know if Ural tickets. I don't know still you remember that?
I do.
That's a ticket you can buy, let's say, for a month or 2 months. And you can just hop on every train in Europe pretty much. And we bought these. They were quite reasonable because, a lot of teenagers, who backpack trampers, tourists, would buy those. And so we bought them as well. And the great thing was it was like 200-300 euros, not euros, Deutschmark or Swiss francs or something like that in the time. And we could take the last train out of a city and go as far as possible and sleep on the train. And so we would, let's say, play in Paris all day and then take the train and try to get to Vienna. And of course you have to change trains, twice, but you still have a long time where you can sort of rest and sleep, sitting in a train cart, in a train, department. And then you play all day in Vienna and take the last train and go, let's say, to Frankfurt, and then take the last train, go to Amsterdam or Berlin. from Berlin go to Milan, and we had, so we would travel every night, as far as we possibly could with the last train that would go out of the train station. And that's how we lived month at a time. And sometimes we would stay longer in places where we would, get shelter from something or somebody.
These people like us. Let's stay here for a week.
Yeah. And then, you always get to know people. But it was a great time. Well, when I was young, I thought it was a very educating time, looking back, because everybody has a different story why he's on the road or has nothing, right? Or I met a few Americans who came home from Vietnam. At one point, like for instance, Jim, he was from San Francisco. Was a big, wonderful. It was just a great guy, and he played beautiful Marshall Tucker songs and knew all these great songs, and he had a beautiful mellow voice. It was like Don Gibson, and he would sing on street corners with his D35. And he just came home from Vietnam. He came home from Vietnam, a few years before, and he just couldn't find home, and then he just played on street corners and stayed with whatever girl would pick him up, or let him stay, and so we met so many people. It was a pretty tight community of, let's say, 200-300 people that we knew, that were really street musicians, and we were the young ones, Uwe and me, and we met amazing people, really, truly amazing people, and we were happy. I mean, there was nothing wrong with not having anything. In those days, sometimes I wondered about the people that were much older than us, or people that were in my age. But I always tell the story of Phil. Phil was an art painter in England, and he even painted some of the royals. He was a portrait painter, right? And he played also a little clawhammer banjo. And he looked, he was a little scruggle. He was a little man, and he wore a tuxedo because he came home from an official meeting. And he came home, and his whole family was murdered. Ooh. And so the police was there, and everybody was there. And after the police left, and he just took his banjo and just walked down the street and never returned. And
wow.
When we met him, he was already on the street for over 20 years, and he had a children's program where, because he lost his children, right? So he had his children program where he would play. He taught me how to play clawhammer banjo.
Really?
So he taught me how to play frailing. So he would do the up picking like that. And then he would sing, and he still wore that same tuxedo he washed already 1,000 times somewhere, and he had little balloons on the banjo, and yeah, it's just amazing. Or we played in Berlin, and I met Jane Lute in Berlin, who became at one point and later the head of the Blue Helmets of the UN. And she's still a good friend. Amazing woman, playing banjo. But she was in the U.S. Army, and we played one of the restaurants, from the GIs in Berlin, right by Checkpoint Charlie. And I remember they hated us as well. but so you can tell, I'm getting into this because these memories are very strong. And sometimes, we always have stuff in our car, things that we can give to homeless people. Not necessarily money, but we always have, food of some kind, or water or something. We always have something in the car that we can give, because we were not standing at the same point, and we were not just handing out our hand because we were able to play music. but you never know why somebody is there where he is, and sometimes it's easy to overrule your emotions by an intellectual thought like, yeah, they could work, or I don't know these people. I don't know if they could work. I don't know if they have a mental issue, or I don't know what's the matter with them. And I'm obviously getting into their premises in life. And if I can do something, we try always to do it. Cool. And maybe that that sounds like I'm trying to sound like I'm a good person. That's not. That's not. But it just
the experience that you had.
No. It could come across like, hey, look at I do this and you should do this too. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it just raises awareness when you once hadn't any.
Sure.
If you lost everything, it's a different outlook on life. So we're still Uwe and me still. We're still. Somebody would our agency calls us up and says, oh, we have this concert offer, and we look at each other and say, hey, wow, isn't that great? There's people out there who'd like to hear our music. We really appreciate that.
Sure.
We never expect it.
Hey guys, quick note: if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe. Well, not subscribe. You can subscribe to it on YouTube, but like and review it on your podcast favorite. If you're watching this on YouTube, download it on a podcast app. It's going to help us grow the podcast. Review it on Apple Podcasts mainly, or Spotify, or anywhere you listen or watch to your podcast. Listening podcasts. Wherever you ingest this podcast. It's really going to help us grow it. And if you like it, we got more coming. So stick around.
That had to be somewhat scary, but were you guys ever worried about being able to make it? Or was the music something you felt like we could always fall back on this? We could play our instruments, earn enough to buy the next meal or be given a meal. Like, was it the music that made you guys feel okay, or you just had no choice and music was there?
No, we always wanted to play music. And, actually, tell you the truth, being a musician on the street at that time was that I could play all day, every day. And nothing would hold me back. There was nobody there to tell me, did you do your homework? Did you do that? You should do that. You should think that. You should. There was no TV. There was no internet. There was no cell phones.
Or if you had a regular job that you had to be at.
Yes, I just could play all day, and that's what I did. I played all day, every day, from morning till night. And compared to today's musician, of course, we didn't know that much. Today you can get so many more input of what you could be. Let's say you're watching YouTube and you're seeing somebody being an amazing jazz musician, and that could give you the impression you should that be as well. Or you see somebody being able to playing really fast, something very, intricate. And then you feel like, oh, I probably have to do that too. But these things are very dangerous. I always thought there's a taste you have of what you actually like. That's why you started playing music. And these are the things that the only guidance is the taste. Now, if you don't have time to feel that anymore, if what you play is making you actually happy, and you're always constantly playing in a way that you feel like you're not good enough, or there's always people who can do that better, right? We didn't have that. When I was a kid, I didn't know anybody who really played banjo, so I just tried to figure things out and just played wildly. I don't know if it was good or not, but I was very happy with, and the development was very based on my emotions, my taste of what I liked to do. And if I saw somebody else play something that I couldn't, I didn't necessarily had a feeling like I should be probably also trying to learn that, Sure. That was not the case. And that's a beautiful state when I look back, when I see young musicians today, how much there's so much taken away from their own sense of beauty, right? Of what they think actually music is beautiful. They see other people doing things that are obviously beautiful, and then they try to be that. And but not trying to figure out as much, of what they think is beautiful themselves.
That's very interesting.
Judging it by that. And I'm not saying that is bad. I'm just saying it was a different a different time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why
It's interesting because it's kind of the same. It's like the social media problem we're having with youth now of having so many inputs. It's almost discouraging. Everything's perfect. You see it online. You try to live up to that. It's just, I've never heard it kind of related to music like that, but it's the same idea of you got so much input.
It's the same idea. It's very discouraging, and even records that come out today. I mean, there's so much. I mean, not that these people, not that we, as musicians don't play well, but there's so much fiddling, with the recording today, like voice correction and pitch control and timing, in particular in bluegrass, or where notes get moved and people feel like there's a groove that has to be always together, but when we grew up, we listened to Alden and the Way, and the music sort of just moves like a flock of birds. There's just sort of everything very organically moving, and there's something very social about this music that doesn't try to be like it's not like a steamroller. It's more like sort of you're in a room with friends, and it's a different atmosphere. And I think there's a lot of bands, of course, that still do that, and go that way. But it's sometimes difficult for young people who play music to find that world, that liberating world, actually.
Yeah.
In music today, there's so much technique.
I hear you.
And there's so many amazing players that don't have income.
Yeah. I would like income. I feel like
I don't think
you were
you're
probably speaking to me when you said that, but
you were neither an amazing player or
did you have any?
Should I have income?
Yeah, you should not have.
When did IKEA step into the picture? The furniture.
Well, we used to say, how come, we had all these children all of a sudden, and we always said, I don't know if I should say that at the podcast, but we always said, how come the children's names change more and more to the names of the furniture they were made on?
Oh no! Oh no! It's over now.
Only in Sweden.
Only in Sweden.
Only in Sweden. No, I don't know.
I was going to ask that as a young boy in Sweden, what made you decide on banjo?
Well, it was.
We know
I
it's
don't know if you
Switzerland.
remember, there was an album that was called A Bouquet of Bluegrass, and it came out.
By the way, the worst bouquet that you can give your girlfriend.
Yeah, don't. But there was a banjo on the. Well, and I heard this note, and that was the most beautiful tone I had ever heard in my life.
Also, not said by most people.
No, well, for me it was.
I'm just kidding.
I was like 5, 6 years old. I was maybe 6 years old, and I heard that tone, and I said, "Well, that's." And we had a banjo at home. We had a banjo at home, but it was a tenor, and the sound of banjos were more like.
Yeah.
More like, it's a strumming sort of banjo. And then there were Irish players, that played occasionally.
Yep.
You could hear a tenor banjo play Irish banjo. But then that sounded so amazing to me. And the inner picture I had was forests, trees, and because as children we were always in the woods, right? We had horses at home, and we would always be in the woods and jump in some mountain streams and just be out there, and the banjo sounded like it's a soundtrack to that world that is very nature oriented. It didn't sound like, I always liked electric guitar to a certain degree, but never felt like I should play it because it always sounded like a world I didn't want to be in.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
But yeah, that doesn't make the music any not like there was jazz. We listened to a lot of Joe Pass, and there was a lot of jazz and bebop, in Europe, when I was a kid. We had, Jazz Festival in Monterey and everything, but then never, the music at that time, later, of course, it appealed to me very much, but all the music that reminded me of cities just sort of pushed me away. Everything that pushed me into the nature, in the sound idea, I was drawn to as a kid. And just, I would go on, sometimes I would ride to school on horseback, When I was a kid, we had horses, and especially in the winter, there was no saddle, and you sit on a horse and it warms you, you go through the snow, go to school. It's just a different life than when, let's say, Joel Landsberg, our bass player, he grew up in Brooklyn, he was born in Queens, and there's a total different
Sure.
world. He has sounds of subways in his head and Chinese takeaway, and there's just, and for me that was never a place where I wanted to be, personally. Visiting, but not my dream.
Yeah.
My dream is a world of nature.
Good.
That's kind of where you ended up out there, where your guys' studio is and your house. It's beautiful in the woods, and
Well, I never thought I would live in a place like this, but also in Switzerland I had some nice places where I lived. Luckily, it's interesting. Music connects you with so many people, which is the most amazing thing about music. You never know who is listening to your music, or who do you get to know through music, and life. You cannot plan it that well. There's a lot of opportunities that
Sure.
open up you have never even thought about. And then if you have a set plan, you might not see the opportunities sometimes, It sounds like I'm a drifter. I'm not.
You are.
you're
I
a
hate-
dreamer. Some may say we are a dreamer, but we're not the only one. I just wrote that.
Did you really?
No, John Lennon did. But
Oh, I
Um,
gotcha.
I know.
but but what you said, I can back up what you said about the power of music and the people you meet. It is. I always thought it was so interesting. We would do shows where you meet doctors or brain surgeons or these super successful people, and they are in awe of the musician. Like they just want to. They want to know how you do it, and they come up to. It's like, you're a multi-millionaire that does surgery on children, and life and death is in your hands, and you're sitting here asking me about how I do a G chord on the mandolin. It's a weird thing that you never know who's out there listening and how in awe they are of the musician.
That's exactly right, and that goes both ways, and it's a synergy. It's a synergy. If you have something that you put, I asked my mom, how it works. I lost my mother when I was very young, but she once told me, she said, the world is a very interesting place. If you figure out something that you can put into the world will figure out something that get you something back. So other than pondering over, if you could play better, or you have the right instrument, or just the right strings and picks, it's better to play for somebody what you are able to play, because then you're putting it out in the world. And if you're putting it out in the world, it doesn't need to be perfect. You just put it out into the world, and then the world would figure a way out of bringing something back to you. And I think that's the definition of a profession. And just material or abilities shouldn't hold you back. It's
Although sometimes you'll put it out into the world and you get folding lawn chairs.
That
in
is
response.
a response.
well, that's okay, but you see, because like I said, but in the end of the equation, I think it always works out.
Yeah.
It sort of balances itself out. I not that I'm saying it has to, but it seems to be. I know people who are not that talented, and they have a beautiful life as musicians. You wouldn't consider them really very talented. And then I see people who are so talented and so self-critic that they don't do anything with it, and then they don't have anything with it, right? And then they regret not having it done. And it's an over self-criticizing maybe aspect, of an idea that you have about yourself, right?
Yeah.
When we get up in the morning, we have an idea of who we are, and I think it's very good to lose that at one point, off and on, have the ability to lose that idea of who you are, and just do really what you like to do right now, because that's sort of puts you in another direction.
Good.
Let's say I take my banjo out in the morning and I just heard some crazy lick. I wanted to learn. Now I'm sitting there and I'm playing, or I listen to somebody I really admire, anything, and then I'm going like, okay, so I have something. I have an idea about something that I work, instead of taking the banjo and just go and then see where it takes me. And for some people it's and it doesn't follow really any other road than the own taste. And if I do that, I can always see if I do that for about as long as I like, there's no, and just play. Then I develop things. All of a sudden, things shift, and I start to all of a sudden have my own ideas of music, of tunes. But not because I sat down and say I have to write a tune, or let's write a tune in the style of blues, or let's write a tune. Because I can do that, but it always seems like I never liked them.
Yeah.
I never stick with them. I never keep them. But if I develop music in this way and sort of go into a world, all of a sudden I have something that I think that's pretty and that's worth playing for somebody, And of course, Uwe and me, we sit down and we work out things, but that time, that just playing time, is very important. I just did this morning, just play for 2 hours,
I like this idea of just rambling and just kind of working your way through ideas. And
It's like
and
meditation.
stuff.
It's musical meditation.
I like it.
You open yourself up.
Yes, yeah, because you're in the moment. You live with yourself in the moment, and not have an idea about what you should be, which overlaps, with the reality of your existence right now.
Man, that's
We
heavy.
just got metaphysical. It just
I'm
went-
sorry.
Why are you apologizing? I love it. This is great.
No, I don't always, For me, music
Can we call
is a very
this Zen with Jens?
Yeah.
No,
Zen with
no,
Jens.
No, I think music is something very spiritual.
Yeah.
And then, who knows, how many times was I invited, to play somewhere, and then we would go there, and then all of a sudden you meet these people you never thought they even existed, there's an atmosphere that happens that is indescribable, and that you're never prepared for it.
Yeah.
There's something happening that you could not know before.
Well, I like that you've kept yourself there, because I think there are musicians that do it enough that they almost get burned out to that stuff, and they don't pay attention to the atmosphere that they're in. It's almost
beauty
just
of it.
become routine, and I just got to get back to the hotel room. I don't want to be a part of this. Or you guys still seem to just love every moment of it.
Well, not always, but enough to keep
Not
us
when
going,
you're there
you know?
giving him hell about being from Switzerland or from Sweden.
Yeah. Well, we do with Joel, Uwe, and me. We've been out together with Joel. It's 36 years almost, and we just get together and we just say, we never say let's go together and practice. We call each other, hey, let's get together and play music. We never. There's no goal, there's no agenda. Sometimes there is, because we have to rehearse for a symphony show, and it's very sturdy, and we need to know all the exact measures and everything. And so we have to go through things so we remember them together and, get tight on certain timings and things. We have that, but it's very rare compared to getting together and just play. It's like Uwe will show up tomorrow. I know he's traveling today, but he will show up tomorrow, and then he'll just walk in and he walk back there in his couch and take his guitar out and he just starts playing something. Usually starts playing Willie Moore or something, and I get my banjo and make coffee. We just start playing. We don't ever even talk. We just play, and we just play for an hour. And I think we have done that always since we were kids, and that's why we still love playing music together, because it's not always. It doesn't have a goal necessarily, always. And today, everybody on YouTube tells you got to have the goal and you got to have the discipline. And I think you got to have the discipline to live, enjoy life. And the older I get, the more important it becomes. These hours are not coming back, And if I spend time with my brother, I don't know how long we're going to have each other play music, like that. So why would we stress each other? We want to have just fun. So we play Homes Across the Blue Ridge Mountains, then we play some of my compositions, if we feel like it, right? Then we play some compositions that are 30 years old, and they bring back memories, and then we drink a cup of coffee, and then we play more. And if we like to write a song where we feel a need, well, we write one. Or I show him something I just came up with, and he figures out a few chords, and we work on it. And then we do that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10 or 12 hours, And then it really doesn't matter, what other people do.
Sure.
Because in the end, we have something that we might want to share with people. And then if there's people like at Indiana at the Spimo who don't like it, well, it's okay.
They'll like the next band.
There's enough other bands that they will love, and they also are probably very happy if they find something that they can dislike.
Yeah.
So we also did them a favor.
Makes them like the other stuff even more.
By the way, we have done so much of that favor to a lot of people throughout the
them find
years.
the music they really do.
No, I have to say, I have to say, this is I'm. You interview. You wanted to have a chat with me, and I'm talking so much, but I have to say that you brothers, with your dad. I mean, when we played together. And we call, because I'm Jens and Jeremy and John, we're all like Jays. So we're all Jays. So we call ourselves the Flying Jays.
Right.
Okay. So, but when we played together, wasn't that just beautiful?
It's magical.
I mean, it was absolute, for me, it was such a joy. I mean, playing with you guys feels so good. And, the bass rhythm is ridiculously good. It's, really, the rhythm, you have no question where to put the 16th note, It just feels, there it is, and you can just push the timing a little bit, and you can put there, oh my goodness, it feels great.
It was a blast.
Playing music with you guys, you're so amazing. Your musicianship is so amazing, and you can really tell that you played so many hours together, as brothers. And I can't wait to do that again sometime.
And the same thing for you. Yeah. There is this magic that happens with you've got a crew now that you said 30. How many years?
36 years. Yeah.
And we've done this our entire career, so we're close to 30 years now, I guess, playing together, off and on and whatnot. And there is a magic that kind of just happens for doing it with that core. And then when you take that and put it with something else that's also as experienced and as special in a different direction, it's like the two worlds meld together in its own really unique and fun way. And I always enjoy that.
I think it was fun that we really didn't rehearse very much. We got to play a little bit ahead of time, like 30 minutes before getting on stage. But then it was just playing songs we were all familiar with and having fun with it. I think if we had video of it, we were all smiling ear to ear, just enjoying every minute of it.
There's an interesting thing, my brother and I, we've been playing for 50 years now together on stages, right? And the thing is, we have never talked about timing And we have moments. Let's say I play something of my compositions, then there doesn't need to be a steady timing, For there's a lot of movement in the timing, and then there's things that need better timing. But I always realized for myself, if I start thinking about timing, my musical energy is completely out the window. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about music. I don't want to think about timing. I don't want to think about if I make a mistake or if I just don't want to think about all these things because they make me bitter. And they make me bitter because they throw the music out, right? They throw my instant living energy that I'm supposed to put into music. It destroys it somehow.
See, Jeremy, that's what is happening in our business. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be in the space.
I want to take a moment because I know John's being funny, but this is something that I think was the key to what you guys were bringing to the music. Like,
yes,
in a world of bluegrass, you guys came with that perspective, and this all makes sense to me now, hearing you talk about it. But you guys would be the guys that show up at IBMA, and bluegrass music is a frantic, desperate business that all these bands are very desperate to be, not only be an ideal of a music that everybody has in their mind, right? They're trying to drive, they're trying to have this energy, the entertainment and all this stuff. And it's a very aggressively, overtly frantic music style, and a business and a group of people. And I think what was amazing and why you guys were just so, such a fresh breath of air in the bluegrass industry and why you were so successful is you came in with that air of, we're not cocky, but there was a confidence of, we're going to do what we're going to do. This is, we're not looking at you to see what your reaction is. We're offering this up right now. We're going to do what we do with the equipment that we have and the people we have. And, not everybody's going to love it, but we're going to be happy with that. And we kind of got to that point maybe 25, 30 years later. And that's where we're at now, I think, where we just we're doing it for the fun of it. But you guys had that about you when you would show up in this chaos of bluegrass.
Well, I have to say, we are very, when we look at ourselves or we listen to ourselves, we're not fans of ourselves, right? So who likes to listen to himself, on an answering machine? First time I listened to myself on an answering machine, I wondered, why do I have friends? But
who is this guy?
Yeah. And so not that I have a lack of there's, I don't think the word self-confidence is a good word anyway. I think there's a word of, I would try to say there's confidence, right? And confidence is for everything, for the people you work with, for life, there's trust. There's a trust and you are not that important, Not that you are not important, but you are not that important, right? If I go on stage and I want to be perfect, I go and I listen to the timing and just, we're going to nail it, then we're going to push it into the middle of the time and every time, and then every note has to be chiseled and every pull-off needs to be frantically clear. Then if I put myself under these pressures, I'm taking myself extremely serious, don't I? Right? I feel like I'm making a better world by being somehow perfect or in timing with everybody or something. There's a big mistrust actually at display to the entirety of things, right? To entirety of life. I think true confidence is confidence in everything and not self-confidence. That's limiting to myself. I think the world is I don't think, I know because the world would go easily on without me, right? So it doesn't need me. So that's why Uwe and me were, in a sense, we always say that, we say we don't take ourselves serious, but we take our music serious, right? We see, because music is a vehicle of emotions. And if we have a emotion of strain, well, that's what we're going to transport, right? If we have an emotion of of perfection, we put that perfection in everybody else, and everybody feels uncomfortable with it. I don't think, there's a sense of awe, but there's a sense of uncomfortableness. Do you know what I mean? You listen to music and it's perfect and it's somehow great, but somehow uncomfortable. It's because it's played with an uncomfortable consciousness.
We also found out that they're not going to like us, the audience or whoever's going to buy the records. They're not going to like us more because we're perfect. They're going to like us more if we're imperfect or if we're enjoying ourselves. It
is, and if it's perfect or not, it doesn't really matter. It is what you feel. I found I have my books I write everything in. Every day I write stuff in books, and my thoughts, my feelings, things, and that helps me a lot because then I can see it sort of, manifested, not just in the thought process. But I found one, from 1979, and I wrote in there, I started to understand in 1979 that people are not hearing the music, they hear the intention of the player, right? The music notes are just an expression of the intention of the player. And that's when Bill Monroe couldn't hardly play anymore. It was still Bill Monroe, right? And when we were fortunate enough to play a few shows with Doc Watson. I remember the Farthing Auditorium up here in Boone, big auditorium. We played with him, and Charles Welch and Jeff Little came, played a few songs. But we played the whole show with Doc. And Doc sometimes forgot, that he was on stage, so he started to talk to us like we were together in the living room. And then Charles Welch would look over and say, "Hey, so Doc, what do you think we're going to play next for the people out here?" And then Doc would start singing a song, and there's a life energy in heartfulness, realness, that he would express that would move everybody to the core. And it had nothing to do if the solo had a mistake. I mean, if you look at seriously, Doc Watson, for instance, that's why he's such a hero also. There's not a single recording of Doc Watson where he doesn't miss notes or has dead notes, right? There's maybe one or two, maybe there's a few recordings where he, played everything perfect, but there hardly ever is, right? And when you listen to Carnegie Hall, how many mistakes Earl Scruggs played on that album, right? That you would today try to go fix and, work out. I mean, we used to learn all the little slips, that Earl Scruggs had, and we would share them amongst each other, sure. Just to see. But my point is that it was so moving to sit with Doc on stage, and the magic was almost greater than ever before. There was something released, there was something, you don't have to prove anything anymore. And I think somebody who is 20 years old can have that same. That doesn't mean it's careless. He actually cares. That's a difference. He cares about the people. He cares about the people and not about himself. I think there's actual care. It's like concentration. People say you got to concentrate. Well, I don't think there's a concentration on something. I think either you have a concentration for everything, or you're not concentrating. If somebody just concentrates on himself, how could he play with others? Now, so when you play in a band, you concentrate on everything. The audience, the birds, the sound on stage, whatever you do. When I start messing up, usually, I mess up, when I start making a little thing slip, the first thing I do is I look over to Uwe and Joel so I can take the attention away from myself, because that's the only way out for me in not starting to encapsulate myself on stage and starting to just focus on me not making a mistake, and in that process destroying the entire music on stage. Yeah.
I'm with you. I also do that, but I just blame them. So,
well, yeah.
What you do?
Actually, but when I make mistakes, they both look at me like, "What are you doing?"
But it's a good trick. It's a good trick.
Sure.
You just focus on your audience. Sonny Osborne used to say he always would try to find one guy who was very impressed and make him really happy. Uwe and me, we usually go backstage and we look. You see, okay, can we see the guy with the white socks, in front row, right? And then Uwe say, oh, there's one with white socks. Let's make him happy. Okay. or we see somebody, when you look behind the curtain and people sitting there like, and Uwe and me say, he needs it the most. Let's make him happy, right?
Find the one that's sleeping and see if you can wake him up.
Wake him up.
You know what I mean?
I know.
So I think with Uwe and me and Joel, Uwe, Joel, and me, we always had this sort of level of how we talked about music that is not, I'm not saying better, but it was just different than with other people. And that made us stick together because we believed in the same basic values of music that are not focused on the individual abilities or the tightness of the sound, or that comes natural. Sure. If everything's right, that is natural. How many times have you tried as brothers to recreate a feeling musically and it will never happen? So you cannot recreate a feeling, but you can create the atmosphere where that could happen.
I'm with you.
And I think
I like it.
And I think my Uwe, Joel, and me, we became pretty good in that by not taking ourselves so serious. But the music is a very serious business because people can close their eyes but not their ears. So you're occupying somebody's life for quite a long time during a concert, and they're sitting in the dark, and somewhere, and they came to see you, so you have a responsibility. And that responsibility is not to be perfect. That responsibility is to be kind, I think. And that is not just to feel something, oh, I'm going to love everybody. That's not the right thing. It's just paying attention and play the music. You don't have to do much more than that. And then you prepare your music and play it, and don't try to impress. Really, that happens on a totally different level. Yeah. And so I see also bands. They're not so much on social media, or let's say we're not in the charts with the Kruger Brothers, or we don't have that much radio play, but we have beautiful concerts. It's like, you don't have to be famous as a musician to have a good life. You only have to have enough people who trust enough hours of their life to spend with you in a room, right? And with the energy you create in that room. And you need enough people that want to do that. And then you have a career. However you do it, right, is fine. So a $100,000 banjo will not make that more likely.
We're in the business of selling banjos, so it absolutely will make it more likely the more money you spend on a banjo.
Look at his face.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying. For instance, you guys are you guys when you're at Morofest, or you have your shop, right? The first thing that I see, when I come to your booth, every instrument is set up perfect, right? Every instrument is made so it doesn't get in the way of the musician.
That's the hope.
And well, you do. And the thing is, then you cannot blame the instrument.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid and I would go to music stores, there were instruments that were literally unplayable. There were companies from Italy and the East Germany that made instruments, that were like, I don't know what that was, but that was that was impossible to push down. It's like playing a dobro, with frets, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, and then people would give up playing these instruments, but with you guys, that's not the case.
We appreciate that. I know we're probably run low on some of your time, but also the work you've been doing with Deering in the last 10 or 15 years, it's probably a conversation we'll have.
I was going to say, we're going to have another podcast.
We're going to have Mike the
There's
trip
a whole
out
story.
Here.
We've only got up to the record label, and then there's a whole story of you guys getting to the U.S. and you playing in the U.S. with
Monroe and on the Opry.
Jimmy Martin and whatnot. I don't know all these people. Yes. So there's a huge history there. but we just have run out of time because we've gotten into some really
We
great
got
stuff.
deep.
Great
We got
stuff.
so deep today.
It's really good for the new young players to listen to this, though. It is kind of, there's a pressure on them to like be perfect or learn those super hard licks, or try to, like you said, emulate the people that they're seeing online. But this conversation is a really good one to say, just let some of that go and just create the atmosphere where your music can come out.
Yes, exactly. And I think a lot of the abilities come with, now let's say, I always say that at workshops, I give workshops, and then sometimes I say, play every day for 2 hours and try not to get better. You will not succeed.
I like that.
Okay? You don't have to worry about your success. When you play, you're going to get better. There's no way around. You could try not to get better, but you will. You're stuck with getting better.
I have now found a new mission. I will play
Challenge
more.
accepted.
But you see, so somebody once came to me and said, "Oh, how long does it take me to be as good as you?" That was a long time ago. And then he said, he was a little cocky, so I was a little offended. He said, "So I'm here now in lesson number 1. How long will it take me to be as good as you?" And I said, "How much time do you have?" He said, "About 20 minutes a day." I said, "You probably will not get that old, because I already played that many hours, assuming we have the same talent. Now, if you are much more talented than me, then I could very well be that you. But I think all these questions about talent and look at all these people. Is B.B. King less than Django Reinhardt? Is Mark Knopfler less than, I don't know, somebody else who plays a million notes a second? Is it really, do we have to worry about these things? I don't think at all. I don't think we have to worry about these things at all. I think these things are actually roadblocks that keep us of fulfilling who we need to be. Some people are thin, some people are big. So what? Some people need to be big, some people need to be thin. Who can tell them that they're wrong, right?
My doctor.
Well, yes, and maybe he dies way before you. It's like my grandpa. I always say my grandpa. He lived to be 103, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and he drank lots of liquor and he smoked cigars until he was 102 years old, right? And nobody ever, he was in 2 world wars, and I'm not saying that is healthy. That's not a healthy lifestyle. But it doesn't mean that anybody can come and take your joy away from your life, right? There's no right to do that, right? There's no, and I think you should not be so hard on yourself when you play music, and constantly trying just to feel like you're not good enough, your timing is not good, your tone is not good. Well, if you know it's not good, it's going to get better if you play a lot. You don't, because it's already the direction you understand your taste to be. So you don't have to worry about it, you just have to walk the distance. So all you got to do is play. And the least thing you need is too many good advices, exercises and things, How could you motivate somebody to play a lot? How can you stop a child from playing? By giving him rules how to play, right?
Sure.
And then you need a coach who yells at him and makes him run. But if you have children who just play soccer on the street, nobody has to tell them or motivate them, because they're having fun. They're doing what their life desires. And that's the same with music. When you have an instrument in your hand, you can tune it whichever way you like. You can play whichever way you like. You can learn a few things you like, and then you just play. And then if you play what you like to hear, and then you hear this note, well, wonderful, right? Wonderful. If you do a forward roll, and it sounds like this. Well, keep on doing it and you start to hear it. Don't try to alter it. Listen to it. If you listen to it constantly, what you do, listen to what you do. It will change into whatever you want it to be. It will change very slowly. It's like a plant that grows or something. it's not happening from Monday to Tuesday. But if you don't pay attention to what you do, then it's dangerous. Do you see?
Yeah, I hear you all the way.
Do you know? If you don't pay attention, you can learn a complicated banjo lick, but that doesn't make you a musician, and you don't even know where to put it, right? And then you can learn entire solos from other people, and then maybe that helps you, and then you can learn the entire Charlie Parker catalog, and then you can play that, and then you stand there with a grumpy face and play all these licks, and you don't even know where they're coming from. You know what I mean? It's just why. And for some people that works, and but for a lot of people it doesn't. You know,
Sure.
For a lot of people it doesn't. I was lucky. Uwe and me, we were very, very lucky that we had parents that would sing with us. You know, they played guitars and sang folk songs, German folk songs. They just played a few chords. And I remember my father playing the G chord on the guitar like this, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, but he didn't play the second string, so it worked fine. You know what I mean? He was, and my mom, she sang, and we sang together. I mean, that gave us a feeling of togetherness, and music was as complete in our family as it is in the best concert halls in the world for me today. So there's no difference. Either it is humane or it's not, right? And I think that humane level of warmth and closeness with other people together, we can achieve with very, very little technique. I think that was one of the recipes for the folk boom to happen, or Martin guitars, you know, that everybody could play a guitar, strum it, or a banjo that's easy to strum. There's nothing wrong with that. The most famous Irish band ever was the Dubliners, right? And all they did was sing songs, you know, that everybody could sing along. So, and if it leads you somewhere else, I think if then I play for a while, all of a sudden I have something that I never heard, well, that's obviously my music. You know, and then other people call it, well, it's his style.
Yeah.
But that just happened. That's not something I deliberately needed to work on. You know, it's just the endless hours I spent alone, without a TV on, just enjoying playing the instrument. You know?
Yeah. I think this has been a really great podcast for people to think about the music that you're playing, not necessarily your entire history, which is a very long story. Lots of really cool events have happened, and we'll try to get some of that in future visits with you. But this is really good just to be thinking outside of what the technical aspects of playing music are, and just to really enjoy making music for music's sake.
I think it's a testament. You guys are living the life that a lot of these people that are frantically trying to be perfect would dream of living. You've built your own business and world just by focusing on the music and doing the thing. And
yes, and you see, for me, the most, I know I spoke so much, but I just have to point that out. You know, that sounds like a small business, but for me, it wasn't. You see, for me, I was able, as a sole earner of a family, to get my kids through college and pay for everything, you know, and have good health insurance and have cars and have good buildings and have a good life, because I followed what my heart tells me to do musically, you know, and not trying to, I don't need to sound like Tony Rice. He already lived, you know, he already did it. I don't need to sound like Earl Scruggs. He already did that. You know, Bill Monroe told me, don't play bluegrass. I already done it. It was barely enough for me. But that's another subject. Of course, that's not true, but I know what he meant. Yeah. You know, the thing is, my life is a very beautiful life, and I have more that I could ever wish for. And all these concerts with the symphonies and string quartets and concert and composition assignments and the new projects I'm working on, all these beautiful things that come into my life, I think they come partially into my life because I'm spending so much time alone, right? And playing music and enjoying music, and then all these things sort of come to me. You know, it's for me, it's a big business because I was able to support my family and, see now my grandkids, and everything you see was once notes.
Yeah.
Everything that I've done was notes at one point for somebody.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people who would never listen to my music and never like me, but there's a million other musicians they can listen to. So I don't, that's perfectly the way it needs to be. I mean, it would be horrific if everybody would need me. That would be like a horror scenario. So worrying about how many followers I have, or worrying about how many albums I sold, that would be all so devastating. Do you know?
Yeah.
Because it would take away from that freedom that I need to play music or come up with my music. And that's why I never had a TV. I don't own a TV. I never watch TV. So I don't know a lot of things that a lot of other people know, movies and things, that I just don't see, and TV series or, all kinds of stuff. I have no idea about these things. I watch news and that's it. I don't watch anything else. And somebody once asked me, so why don't you have a TV? I said, well, I feel like my life's more interesting than most things I see there.
Oh, you haven't seen Housewives?
Well, actually, I did. On the computer. My daughters always wanted to see it, so I watched some of it. No, I'm not ignorant about this. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I said my life is so much more interesting.
Well, we agree with you that it is very interesting. That's why we wanted you on the podcast. But we're also, I think I can speak for both these guys too, that we're very honored that we've become friends with you and your brother, and appreciate it so much because you have been, and Joel.
Don't forget about the bass.
We were friends with Joel before that. These guys. I was always afraid to come and talk to the Krugers, but Joel was always pretty.
Joel was nice. Yeah,
Joel was the one.
Jens less nice, but
yes, I know. Actually, just as a last word, we played. We once when we first came, you played Dollywood. Remember?
Yes.
Okay, so we played Dollywood a few weeks, and one day this lady came up to me and she said, "Now you and your brother, you're good." And Joel was sitting in the middle at that time, right? So, and then she said, "Now you and your brother, you're good, but that fella there in the middle, now he's funny."
She was right.
Yeah, I said, yeah, that's why he's a bass player. All right, my friends, listen.
It's been
let's
really
plan the
good
trip
chat.
to Springfield.
That's right. Still
we
coming
need
here.
to get a booking agent for the Flying J's.
The Flying J's.
We need to
We'll
go
get
on the road.
I already got a sponsor lined up.
Coming to a truck stop near you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great to meet your dad, by the way, at NAMM Show. Again, we once met him at IBMA a long time ago. And I hope he's not offended if I play some with you guys.
No, he's ready to pawn us off anytime.
My dad no longer
can't
cares
beg him to play
about
with us.
anything else but hanging out with grandkids. That's pretty much he calls me only to talk to my grandkid or to his grandkids. That's really the only reason he talks to me anymore. So
Good for him. Good for him. Well, now let's make it happen. I'm going to come out anyway, and we're going to talk about Deering, and we're going to talk about the good time banjos, and we talk about all of that. And I want to come out, and then we record some things and we play. How's that?
Sounds like a
big
deal.
plan.
It's a good plan.
We'll get you some vitamin C ahead of the next one.
Vitamin C?
So you
Why?
don't get sick.
Stay healthy.
We're trying to keep you from getting sick.
No,
next time.
no, I don't need that. Just give me a steak. I'm fine.
A cigar and lots of liquor. That's all he needs.
Yeah. Well, actually, I
Grandpa's
do
recipe.
sometimes sit out there and watch my stripies and smoke a cigar, so that's fine. Nothing wrong with that for me. All right, you guys.
Absolutely.
I love you.
We love you, Jens.
Thank you
fun.
so much. Thanks so much
Elevate, we
for letting
missed
me
him.
do this with you.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Bye-bye, my friends.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Guys, I feel like I
You should.
was just put through kind of a course on
Oh, I
the
thought
philosophy of music.
I thought you were just recognizing the fact that you have been straightened out. Switzerland and Sweden are two
I
different
still don't know
countries.
those, but I feel like I took a philosophy class, if not a geography class.
I think you took a beating of figuring out whether or not.
Why is Greenland green and
Iceland's
Iceland's
green and Greenland's cold.
Why? We should ask
They
him
tricked
that.
us.
Hawaii?
What is going on?
What is going on?
Anyway,
here?
yes. Where was Jens when we were a
Struggling,
frustrated band that
Frustrated
thought we had to-
musicians.
thought we had to impress everyone all the time? Maybe we'd be in a different place. We wouldn't have an acoustic shop, so maybe
Oh
it's,
yeah, things happen
maybe
for a
it's
reason,
better.
Jason.
maybe it's better that we're
Like
not.
maybe there's a reason my van got crushed. I just don't know it yet.
Has
Teach
Ron
me
Block-
humility.
You know what it was?
So that I'll
Ron
pull
Block-
up next to another car, go check out this minivan. I won't be smug ever again in my minivan.
Jeremy,
Plug in.
try a
Judging
different
my
color next
Pacifica.
time.
My wife drives a Pacifica with 120,000 miles on it. It's got dents all over it. And
That was my last town.
the
and country.
transmission grinds every time you start up. I don't know what that's about. Now you're not going to judge me anymore, are you?
No, I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
About time.
As Ron Block said in the lyrics of a song, there must be a reason for it all.
Yes.
Allison saying that.
That's a good reference. Anyway, that was a really cool conversation with Jens, and
I'm good with that
we
way.
really didn't get into a lot of the history of
Yeah, we didn't.
Them going
hardly
from-
go into what we've had
He
other
brought up,
interviews with
Checkpoint
him
Charlie,
and
but I wanted to ask about that. Like they were traveling through Europe and Germany when there was a divided Germany, and then when the wall came down, they were still over there. So that would be an interesting conversation to kind of hear,
there's tons of cool stuff.
and even just taking tips in multiple currencies back then and how to jump from one country
That's
to
how the
another.
business mind of the CEO
Can't buy
goes.
coffee today. I've only got Czech ruble or rubles or what. I don't know what they got over
That's
there.
Russian, I think. But anyway, who doesn't know geography now, John?
I am
The
so
currencies of the
stupid.
world.
You guys are dumb. You don't know geometry at
The
all.
Deutschmark.
You couldn't tell a rock from a crystal. You don't know anything
Or a
about geometry.
versus
We're mixing up
isosceles.
those things.
Can I get a Belgian waffle, please?
Anyway,
No,
fun
Jens-
conversation, and it will
First
be
of all,
continued.
Jens is one of the sweetest people I've ever known, and he's not Swedish. He's the sweetest.
Sweetest Swedish man I've ever
Jens, Uwe, Joel, they're all just super incredible
Down to
human
earth.
beings,
And then
but they're
I
also
think-
incredible
I
musicians.
think he gave a reason that explains why they are so down to earth, and this because they just have that philosophy of we're not trying to be perfect. We're just creating an environment where we can make music. And I bet those years of him and his brother playing on the street from morning till night, when some people are walking by paying no attention to you, other people are loving it, but you're just playing music for the sake of playing
You're just
music.
putting it out there.
Probably set him up for that.
That's
kind of,
that a lot of the stuff puts a lot of perspective on what I know of them now and what I saw as a musician outside of what they were doing is how they fit. They're so incredibly, they fit so neatly into the music space, acoustic music space without fitting. That makes sense.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
That's so cool that they've done that.
very good.
I was always so in awe of how they would just show up and do their thing and blow everybody away and not have that frenetic
We are
have
here
to be
to impress
incredible.
you.
We're going to blow everybody away. We have to beat you else we're not successful.
Everybody,
attitude.
hands in. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on,
1, 2, 3,
on
win.
three.
It's very inspiring. And what's inspiring to me, and I tried to express that in the thing, is to see the end result of that. He's living the life that every person that was so desperately trying to impress in their life would just love to live. So
it paid off.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I
In
like
the
it.
end, they won. They're the winners.
Ooh, ends up
Yeah.
that is the hero of the
And
story.
we are going to take him up on his offer to come to Springfield,
He
and
will
we're
be
gonna
here.
we're gonna
We
talk
need
more
to go on
philosophy and
tour.
play some music.
We
We're gonna
all
do that
have
thing
so
where
much
he
fun
said,
playing.
We'll just all walk in a room and not say anything to each other and just play music.
Yeah, I'm not even going to make eye contact.
Sounds like a good
I'm
plan.
going to face the corner and play. You guys can't make me.
Oh,
Okay,
that might be preferable.
that works.
Anyway, I'm glad we got him on here. I can't wait
Yeah,
to
we're gonna
visit
do
with
it
him again.
again.
And I can't wait for the next podcast. I hope you guys enjoy it and enjoyed listening to that conversation as much as I did.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it again.
The Acoustic Shop knows people. Handmade by Trent Pruitt, Hinkley Hinkleston, and Jason Chapman for The Acoustic Shop.
Theme song written and performed by Ofer Koren.
And please remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.